So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hyben. And now, for the review of the day. Okay, I got a 5-star review from Deborah Ponsetti, a must-have. This course is ideal, perfect training course, and would set up any new agent for success. It will also propel seasoned agents to greater success. Brokers should require this. Great course, John Ferguson. John, congratulations, and thank you for your review. If you would like to be like John, or you're a broker and would like to require this, or would like to look at it to see if you want your broker to require it, just want to take it yourself, go to futureofrealestatetraining.com. That's futureofrealestatetraining.com, and take our 7-day free trial for only $7. Keep the comments coming, guys. I love them. And remember, I eat feedback for breakfast, so give me a 1-star review if you want, or a 5-star review if you want. I don't care. And the more reviews we get, the better guests we get. So please, subscribe first, and then leave us a review or wherever you're listening. All right, guys, well, we've tried the new show for a number of episodes, and the downloads have spoken. You guys love this show. Wow, I am so honored that we can do an engaging and fun and current show that agents from all over the world are listening to and learning from about what's happening in our beloved real estate industry. So we're going to keep it up. We're excited, and welcome to today's State of the Market.
Welcome, Rockstar Nation. Thanks for tuning into the State of the Market podcast with your host, Pat Hyben and Kevin Kaufman.
Wow, Rockstar Nation, what is going on? Welcome to the State of the Market. I am here with my co-host, Mr. Kevin Kaufman. Kevin, how you doing today?
What's going on, Pat? I am doing well, my friend. Happy to be back in recording with you today, my man.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let's jump right into some news because there's a lot of stuff going on this week in real estate sales news. What's poking out as the top of the news today, do you think, Kevin?
Well, I got to tell you, this thing hit Inman this morning, or maybe it was last night, but it hit my inbox late last week, which was Keller Williams has put forth a proposal to alter their long-standing profit share system, which would potentially take away the vesting that has been such a big piece of the story for the last 30 years. I saw a screenshot of a proposal that was at the regional meeting last week in Austin at KWRI, where they're suggesting that anybody who leaves Keller Williams, who is vested, if they go to work for another competitor, another real estate company, actually they called it competitor, they actually didn't say real estate company, that they would no longer be able to retain their profit share even if they are vested, which is a big change, my man.
So let's dumb this down. So guys, you know what vested means is you're locked in, like a teacher gets vested after a certain amount of years. There's certain benefits that they can't have taken away, like being fired or whatever. But in this term, vested means you get your profit share. So if I work for Keller Williams and I bring in Mary Smithson and I make profit share off of Mary Smithson, and then after 3 years, the vesting period is 3 years. After 3 years, I break camp and go to work for EXP or go to work for, Century 21 or whatever. Then they're saying, and I do believe this will pass, by the way, they're saying that I don't get paid on Mary Smithson's sales anymore because I left. And right now is the benefit of vesting is after 3 years, you're locked in, right? I guess so. I guess it is saying the whole vesting system, because there would be no vesting, right? Because if you're staying there, if you stay, you're basically vested from day one, so long as you stay there. So you're right. So the whole it took me a while to sink that in, since it's new news. So the whole vesting period would be good. The whole idea of vesting is gone, right? Like, they would just eliminate the whole concept of vesting.
Yeah, just throw vesting out the window, Pat, is what they're suggesting we do. And
no, you're vested. No, you would still be vested. Let's say
if you retired,
you retired,
you could retire. But what they're saying, what's funny is the wording they use is competitor. So I personally know that Gary Keller looks at Open Door as a competitor. He looks at Fidelity National Title as a competitor. And so I think of, like, I've got some friends that they used to be team leaders, or they used to be market center owners, or just agents at Keller Williams, and they now work for some of these companies, like a mortgage company, and they work for Fidelity Brands and some other companies. And so what I'm wondering is, like, are they considered competitors right now? My guess is, based on the language, yes. But most importantly, Pat, listen, man, I don't care. I gave away my profit share. I answered the challenge to Gary Keller last year. He stood on stage with Brad Inman and was, quite frankly, pissed about the fact that the founder of EXP and a few others in the leadership group there are former KW people that receive a lot of money in profit share. And he said something to the effect of, "If it's so good, why don't you give it back?" And so I just said, I'm not going to give it back to you because I earned it and I'm vested, and that's what vesting means, but I will give it away because I don't need your money. And so, and you taught me to give. You taught me to give strategically, and so that's what I'm going to do. And so I give away every month my profit share. We gave away $729 yesterday to a couple different charities.
Well, this is interesting, because, like, what I'm curious is, like, so I get this, first of all, because I'm with Keller Williams, and I can remember opening an office back in 2008 and being involved in the process of opening an office, and there was a mother and daughter that basically were instrumental in helping us open this office, and they left and went to Century 21. And when I see my profit share statements, several times a year, I look at them, and it is annoying, and I can't tell you exactly why it's annoying. Like what is the deep-rooted reason? But when I see that, and I see that they're getting money, and in some instances more money than me, right? It pisses me off. It's like, damn, they're at Century 21. The least they could do, if they're getting paid, is come back. Now, I it hasn't bothered me, because I'm like, hey, a rule's a rule, and I've personally always thought 3 years wasn't long enough. I thought, that's kind of ultra generous. But now it's kind of making sense. So let's talk about the process of how this gets passed, because in my mind, from what I read from this, I really see no reason why it wouldn't pass, why they wouldn't just say, okay, screw the vestedness.
Well,
and I'm curious if it means people that left in the past, or just people that leave in the future.
I think that's the key right there, Pat, is it for people that have already left? Because if so, what I would be worried about is class action lawsuit, because these are agreements that they've signed with people, and they've said, hey, this is yours for life. I personally, Pat, listen, man, I totally get your viewpoint of that. I may feel that way too. However, I can't tell you how many times I sat in a room with Gary where Gary said, I'm never changing this. This is the integrity of the gift, as he called it, the gift of profit share. And we can't change it. We never will change it. So for this to come up now,
I mean, maybe the lawyers will make it as some sort of compromise. Like, okay, we're not going to mess with the people who have left, but anybody that leaves in the future, or anybody that signs up new at Keller Williams. I don't know. I don't think, because the whole purpose of doing this would be to keep agents from leaving to go to a competitor. So it wouldn't really serve a purpose if you're just doing brand new agents. I don't know. I mean, I tell you what, if they can legally find a way to remove the whole profit share system from people that have left in the past and people that will leave in the future. Unequivocally, they're going to do it. It'd be stupid not to, because the way it's written is that money then goes back to the companies, which help then the companies profit more.
Well,
you know what I mean?
This is going to, so here's the thing. No, this is going to come back to below, this will be below the line, which means they'll come back to the owners of the individual franchises. The way it's currently written. Now, obviously, the way it's currently written.
But it was given out below the line. So it's going out. But below the line means, by the way, people listening, below the line means, not off the top. Like if you pay a referral fee to an agent in Arizona, if you're in Maryland, that's off the top. Below the line is, at the bottom out of the net. So I think the profit share is based on profit. That's why they call it profit share. So it's already given out net and it's coming back net. Does that make sense?
Yes and no. The way it's written, the way I read it, goes back to the ownership group, not back into the profit share pool. So because those are two different numbers. It's talking about afterwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So what's funny too, an agent messaged me today and she said, and she's currently with KW, so I'm not going to give out her name. But I thought her concern was valid. She said, hey, one of the things I've wondered about is with the, they have this ghost agent thing come up a few months ago, was what about these ghost agents that are in there? Like they're in my third line or my second line or my fifth line. And like, I'm losing money to them for the ones that aren't vested yet. Like these people I'm literally losing money that should be coming to me and to the people who are still at KW or who are at least vested.
You mean the integrity of the line. And
yeah.
This is going to go over a lot of people's heads. I see what you're saying, but yeah. So there's
layers.
The sooner they could remove them out, then the more money you'll make, because then it helps you fill up all 7 lines in the profit share. Well, anyways, this is interesting. And this kind of ties into, our next subject, which is, iBuyers. And I hate to beat the idea to death on iBuyers, but it's been interesting what's going on. Different people are jumping into it. Keller Williams announced in Dallas, Texas, starting May 1st, right, which is today, basically that they're going to spend $100 million in the next 8 months buying houses for cash. What do you know about this?
Well, I remember being in a room in Austin with Gary, with Kenny Klaus, when this conversation really got kicked up, and Gary had said he had committed $100 million to this, or from Keller Capital, and that they would go out and make this happen. And so, to see it come forward 2 years later and start to go, I'm excited for them. I think it provides some opportunity for the Keller Williams agents there in Dallas. Like anything else that's outside of a core business, it's going to be difficult. I think they're going to have some struggles in the early on. My guess, though, is that between Kenny, between Mitch Johnson and Gary and some of those other guys and some of those amazing agents they have in Dallas, by the way, who are used to working with companies like iBuyers, they are going to probably find a way to make this work.
What's up, brokers, team leaders, office managers, and rainmakers of teams? I got a question for you today. What are the 2 most frustrating things about running a real estate team? The 2 things that cause you more headaches than anything else. Think about it. The brokers I've talked to have all given me the same answer: recruiting and retention. If you're in the same boat, if nothing you've tried seems to work, I've got some good news. Your problem finding, recruiting, and retaining high-quality agents are about to be over. I'm launching my new Retoot course, a course that provides an in-depth, first-ever look at the recruiting and retention secrets of the industry's top recruiters. To kick off Retoot's launch, I'm offering the course along with 2 other high-value items at a super low price to podcast listeners. Since I'm throwing in 2 free items with my Retoot Secrets course, I'm going to simply call it my 1, 2, 3 discount package. Okay, so let me talk to you about the 1, 2, 3 discount package. In addition to Retoot, you're going to get a subscription for each of your teammates or anybody in your office to my Big Profit Weekly Jackpot emails, which are basically agents from around the world giving advice on how to increase your profit on a daily basis in this business. If your agents put these effective, easy to implement tips to use, their sales and most importantly, their profits will improve. Plus, I'll provide you with a year's worth of monthly sales meetings, content to have at your sales meeting so you don't have to struggle figuring out what to say to your agents or your team. I'm calling it my Lunch and Learn sales training series. That's an entire year's worth of sales meetings that you won't have to plan and that your agents are guaranteed to get massive value from. So to recap, purchasing the 1, 2, 3 discount package gets you 1, my brand new Retoot course, 2, my Big Profit Agents weekly jackpot emails for everybody in your office, and 3, a year's worth of Lunch and Learn training sessions. If you want this limited time package, act fast and go to hibandigital.com/123. Real easy, hibandigital.com/123.
Which should then benefit the Keller Williams agents and the markets that they're doing it. I think I read they're going to try to get this out to 8 different markets this year. And so I think it's good. To me, this is now a have to have. This is no longer like, oh, it's kind of cool. This is now, we need this just to stay competitive and equal with every other brokerage on the planet. I mean, Realogy has come out with theirs. We've talked about Redfin launching theirs. Obviously, Zillow has made many, many headlines, although they're not exactly the same as we are. There's a lot going on with this, and I only see this as a good thing for Keller Williams agents. I think for Keller Williams Realty as a whole, it's gonna be tougher because they're gonna have some expensive lessons to learn. This.
But do you think everybody's going to come out with this? Do you think Remax will come out with it, and Century 21 and Berkshire Hathaway? I think they're all going to come out with this.
Well, I think that what will happen is not everyone will come out with their own, but everybody will partner with somebody. And so you and I talked recently about maybe Remax and Redfin should just be, or maybe that was me, Kevin and I. Maybe Remax and Redfin should merge. Or at least partner. They're already partnering on some
right.
program.
They're already partnering. Yeah.
So I could see something like that happening with all of the major players because I feel you have to. I know that I know many other companies who have not made an announcement yet who are absolutely working on this to have something, whether it's their own, like Keller Williams is attempting to do, or a partnership or strategic alignment, if you will, with a company that is already doing it.
Well, I want to talk about that whole concept in general. I know we've touched on it before, but what makes me think about this is Redfin came out, or Glenn, the guy that runs Redfin, right, came out and said, most of the people offered the cash offer don't take it.
Yeah. And
I think that, you see a big headline where an owner of a company or the CEO of a company says that, and you think, oh, that's kind of sensational because we all know that, right? We all know that what flippers do is they make really low ball offers until somebody says yes, right? And at the end of the day, the whole iBuyer thing is a bait and switch, which is fine. It's been happening for decades and decades. And by bait and switch, I mean, it's you call in on this and then we sell on this. It's like, it goes to the car dealer, right? Where you look at a car, you see it in the newspaper and you're like, oh, I want that car. And then you call them, they say it's already sold, but we're going to switch you to something else, another car. And it's the same thing. I'll buy your house for cash. Oh, well, here's your low ball offer. Oh, that's too low. oh, well, let's list your house and we'll make a commission on there. And I think so. I think that with that thought process, that it's going to be huge for Keller Williams in that every single agent, even if they're a brand new spanking agent, can use this bait and switch technology, this bait and switch ability to advertise, to be able to say, I'll buy your house for cash. If I can't sell your house, I'll buy it. And in the past, they've been afraid to do that because they're like, oh shit, what if I actually have to buy a house? Well, now they don't actually have to buy it because the company's going to buy it.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say, I think the difference here with the iBuyer is it's not actually a bait and switch because they buy it. And I think the competition has gotten so
they buy it, but they don't. Redfin says they don't buy it.
But Redfin says they don't want to. However, and I believe Rich Barton has been on record as saying like they're probably only going to buy 3% of the houses they make offers on. But I mean, like, for instance, here in Phoenix, you got to understand that over 25% of everything that hits the MLS has already had an offer. They were made an offer.
Wait a minute, slow that down. In Phoenix,
where
a quarter of all homes that hit the MLS have already had an offer
from OfferPad, Open Door, just from those two companies alone. And I bet you Open Door alone has probably made those offers. And if you add OfferPad on top of that, because they've got slightly different buy boxes, it's different. I think the difference here, Pat, with the way things used to be with that is they actually will buy it. It is such a race to the bottom at this point to be able to gain control of the market. And there is so much cash in the markets these days being invested into our space that what happens is they can afford to basically not make money on the purchase and then resale of a home because there's the title, there's the mortgage, there's the home warranty, there's all the other ancillary services. And then like in a case like a Keller Williams or a Redfin or, fill in the blank, all of the Realogy brands, what they're doing is they're saying, hey, we can do this and probably not make a lot of money, but even if we can break even, what we can do here is we're protecting the transaction for our agents. And now they're able to still have a listing if we buy it, because then now they can list it and we still have some market share now. That's what I think is really happening. I don't consider this necessarily a bait and switch like it used to be absolutely back in the day.
I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you could think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox, and it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now. Hey, real estate agents and rock stars. If you're getting value out of the content in this episode, make sure you like the video and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the little bell icon to be notified about upcoming episodes. And I would also love it if you left a comment and shared the most impactful tips and tactics you've learned from the knowledge shared in this episode, or even maybe make a suggestion requesting a topic of what you'd like to learn in future episodes. I welcome any feedback below. Now, back to the episode. I think the benefit is, in my mind, the benefit is 95% the ability for agents to get listings, and 5% the ability for agents to get a listing after the company has bought one, fixed it up, and is ready to flip it. You know what I mean? Like
But
that's the benefit.
This is where consumer behavior is, though. Consumer behavior is demanding that we come out with this ability now. And I think what's happening, this is why I call this a good thing. Listen, no love lost with me and Keller Williams. I'm not afraid of that. I mean, read the story. But I think this is a very smart move, and I think that this will only benefit them.
Oh no, yeah, it's huge.
It's a good thing.
No, it's a great thing for the agents. I think the agents will benefit. I just think the whole concept of the iBuyer thing is kind of ludicrous in a sense, because I just can't get my head around why it's so important for these people just to sell their house so fast.
Dude,
all of a sudden,
come visit me, dude. I'll take you down to and meet my friends at Zillow and the guys over at Open Door and OfferPad. Like I live in the mecca of it, right? Somebody was saying to my business partner the other day, Keller Williams region is kind of like, there's a Southwest region. Phoenix is kind of the heart of it. And it was one of our KW friends was saying that they had an event here locally, and just being in town, they got this. They couldn't believe the magnitude of how omnipresent these iBuyers are. I mean, they are everywhere in Phoenix. You got to understand.
I mean, I would take like if I was thinking about selling my house, I would consider an iBuyer offer, but it would be more, but the spread on it just wouldn't. I mean, like
the spread's not that bad, man. It's not that bad.
So if I'm gonna really okay, so really? my experience when I used to do guaranteed buys, right?
Yeah, but this isn't that.
Buys is 65%, maybe 70%. Meaning, if your house was if I could sell the house on the MLS for 300, I would give them an offer 30% less than that, 210. Right? Okay, I'd be like, here's your iBuyer offer, 210,000. They'd be, screw you, Hyben, and I'd be like, okay, well, let me just list it. I mean, what is it? What is it now?
Like 298.
What?
Like 295, 300. Listen,
how do you make money with that?
Ancillary services, man. And you got to understand, they've got billions of dollars to test out this mock to keep proving this out. So the other thing, anytime somebody says, yeah, but they're going to only offer 70% or 80%, what that is that's that's taking away the model that's the We Buy Ugly Houses model.
Yeah.
And the iBuyer model is we actually pay retail.
I didn't know that.
I've
always been on the impression that the iBuyer model is the We Buy Ugly Houses model. Yeah. Is the, if I can't sell your house, I'll buy it model.
It's definitely not. And it's not that it fits everything, right? So there's a box that they can buy in. However, when you look at I'm going to call it the average American home, especially here in Phoenix where they've now been for 5 years, they're able to not only make a really fair offer, but their cost for doing business is also significantly lower these days than it was before. So their fees, if you will, it's a lot of times they're not even leaving that much money on the table. And that convenience fee of being able to get up and go, when we're talking about 10 grand versus, in the example you gave, potentially 70 grand, that for some people, that's enough to like, I'm going to get out of here. And then the other thing I look at is, where are we at in a cycle? Like I think it's fair to say we're way up here. There's a lot of folks today with a lot of equity that have it just because they bought when things were not going so great, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago. And so they've built up a lot of equity, which, that leaves another question for what happens down the road when things slow down, but we'll find out.
It's interesting, man. And it's, and it's just more competition too for the open doors and the offer pads and the knocks. There's just more competition.
So many,
and someone's eventually just going to come out with a transparent advertising campaign. That's just like, 97% of, appraised value or whatever,
yeah.
And then It should be interesting. Well, the whole thing's interesting. So I want to talk too about, there's been some reports out lately. I saw a big thing on Housing Wire now that said that for the first time in 7 years, the median home price has dropped. Now it's only dropped 0.1%, but it has actually dropped. First time since 2012. Thoughts on that?
I'll tell you, it is interesting to say the least, because the other thing that we read with that, Pat, was that building permits are going down, which means the flipping is starting to slow down, which anecdotally we can feel here in Phoenix because it's such a squeeze because it's so competitive. And in some of the other markets as well too, like I'm in Denver, you can definitely feel that in Denver as well. And I'm sure in many other places around the country, but the fact that it slowed down a little bit, I think partly it's because we saw at the end of 2018, it was like everybody just put the brakes on. You and I talked about this a lot in early January about how low those numbers were, how little activity we had in 2018, December of 18 versus any other December in like the last 10 years. And what I'm wondering is if that played such a part that it actually brought some stuff down, and because it's caused people to go, geez, what's going on? Can I really afford this? Maybe I'm getting priced out. And, anecdotally as well, I look at like our listings in Denver. We've had more people cancel on a listing, or we've had more instances where we don't have multiple offers on listings in places like Denver and Nashville even as well. Whereas a year ago, that didn't exist. And so, yeah, things are definitely going.
Market pressure.
Yes.
Market pressure. And so, I think that the question you got to ask yourself, what does this mean? Does this mean that we're leveling off and you're going to start seeing, go down the backside of the mountain eventually, or hang around on the top of the mountain for a while? I mean, if it was like after 2 years, it starts going down, it's one thing. But after 7 years, it makes sense that it's going down. And like you said, that, there were two other stats that they pointed out, which was, like an 8.4% drop in, I got it right here, 8% drop in building starts, right? Housing, what do you call them? Building permits, where builders are like, okay, I got this sucker sold. Let's issue a building permit and build this house for this family. Boom, that's down 8%, which is huge. And then remodeling permits, right? Remodeling permits from counties and municipalities is down almost 10%, 9.7% year over year. What that means to me is flipping is down, because, most of the remodeling that I see going on is not Joey Schmoey who happens to, been able to refi because the mortgage market has changed dramatically. I mean, that ship sailed. I mean, 5 years ago, you could have got a great refi mortgage. You still can today, but the refi boom happened years ago, and people taking money out and putting in a pool or putting in an addition. I think a lot of this is flippers, right? Flippers applying for building permits from municipalities. And so that tells me that a lot of less people are starting to flips, or there's a lot of people that got into the flipping market, got screwed on their first one and said, I'm out. What do you think it means?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I think that's it. The flippers are going, well, hold on a second. Like, here's what I've seen anecdotally. Everybody in Phoenix turned into a wholesaler a couple of years ago. They said, I don't want to flip anymore. There's too much competition. It's too much work. I'm just going to take a little bit of money with a lot less work. I just got to source the deal, and I hand it off, and I'm going to go let the investor do all the flipping. Well, I think now what's happened is that kind of downstream thing. They've gone, whoa, wait a second. My margins are lower. In some cases, I'm losing money. And so I don't know about all this flipping stuff. But here's the other thing I think that's at play here. Fannie and Freddie they're both expecting an increase in refis in 2019 because the rates are down, and they're expecting them to stay down on average, let the rates lower this year than last year. So they're now projecting an average rate of 4.3% for 2019. The average rate in 2018 for a 30-year fixed rate was 4.6. And so what we're seeing is, I think everybody expected the rates to go up this year because they came out and said they would. And then all of a sudden, like the opposite happened. And my guess is because they have access to the data earlier than you and I do. And they went, hold on a second, sales are slowing. We can't go start raising the rates too. Otherwise, this could cause a recession or it could cause a bigger slowdown than we're ready for. And so now we're seeing the rates being compressed and staying down even lower than 2018.
Yeah, and I guess the consumer has to figure out if the juice is worth the squeeze on the refinance, because it costs points and closing costs, and even if you add that into what you owe, there's no free lunch there, and there's got to be a big enough drop, for
Totally.
to spur a refi. I mean, I hope it does. Good for the lenders, right? I mean, more power to them. I want lenders to make as much money as possible. So, I hope it does. It'll definitely be interesting. So,
no doubt.
The only other thing that was curious that popped up, and this is drama, but it always is a reminder that as agents we need to be high-minded in everything we do. Is this dude got busted? His name is Brian Bailey. He was an agent out of Maryland, actually, my hometown. Doing some dirty work with a Washington, D.C. Kind of tenant first right of purchase deal. You know about this?
Yeah, I don't know it in depth, but definitely heard some shady stuff going on with this tenant first right of purchase. And I think at the end of the day, when you and I were talking about this earlier, Pat, this comes down to just do the right thing always, whether somebody's looking or not. Like, don't wait for there to be eyes on you to make sure you're being a fiduciary to your clients. And so this dude got popped, and who knows what's going to happen from it, but it's never good.
Yeah, I mean, he probably saw a bunch of cohorts making money on flips, and he saw this as a way that he could sort of be a wholesaler. Essentially what he did is there's this socialist program in DC where basically it says that, if you're a tenant that and your landlord decides to sell, that he has to give you an option to buy it first. And you have the right to sell this to someone else. So he would get a buddy of his in the FBI to give him names and information that was not available to the public. And then he would bribe someone at the place that does tenant housing or whatever in DC. And anyways, they would conspire to sell this, and he made, they outlined a deal where he was able to give the tenant $35,000 cash, and then he was able to get the tenant $35,000, and then he took $50,000, and then he flipped it to the title company that he worked with for $250,000, and it was just egregious. And what do you think the chances are that he took that $50,000 and ran it through his broker as a commission?
Probably zero. Man, it's just not cool. I mean, there's always opportunities to do the wrong thing. I don't get it. I just don't get why you would risk your livelihood. But more importantly, like, why do financial harm to somebody else like that? There's so many legal and ethical ways to make money in our industry. We are so fortunate to be in real estate where we truly have the ability to make a significant income and really build wealth. When I see someone do something like this, man, this dude deserves whatever comes to him. He deserves it, and probably twofold.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad when you see agents just, they get greedy and they see people doing flips and making money and wholesaling, and they say, well, that's kind of sort of like it. You know what I mean? But since when was it legal just to pay anybody under the table cash for something that I mean, just and it's not disclosed? Sometimes the best thing is to have to, disclose everything to your broker, because I guarantee if he went to his broker and said, hey, man, I know of this deal, I'm going to do this, the broker would have said, hell no.
Exactly. Yeah. Gary Keller taught me one time, when in doubt, disclose. You should always disclose things. And it's just never cool. Like, if you feel like you should disclose, or if there's a scenario where it's even sort of questionable, just disclose your your positions, it's just not worth it.
Yeah. Always make decisions based on if money weren't in the equation.
Amen. I like that.
All right, buddy. Well, that's a good note to leave with. I will see you next week. Have a great week. And guys, if you want to comment on this, go to Next Level Agents on Facebook, or watch us on YouTube. Go to YouTube. I know I saw some of you guys did comment on YouTube, so thank you for that. And at Pat Hyben on YouTube, or Real Estate Rockstars. Kevin, great talking to you.
Right on, brother. Hey, have a great rest of your week, and we will see you soon, Rockstar Nation and Next Level Agents. Talk to you then.
Thanks for tuning into the State of the Market podcast with your host, Pat Hyben and Kevin Kaufman.
Thank you so much for listening to the State of the Market. If you have any news you would like us to cover, please go to Next Level Agents on Facebook, or send an email to info@rebusuniversity.com. That's info@rebusuniversity, REBUS, university.com, and we'll be sure to bring it up.